What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date, and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Because the government does a lot of stuff, like spend money that it doesn't have. We have to actually print money to get money to give to these government agencies so they can spend money. And for what reason? I don't know, to make our lives harder, I guess, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, by the way. The damn government, yeah, they passed the remainder, if you will, of the government funding for FY 2024. Yeah, we're well into the fiscal year 2024. And we're just now getting the rest of the story, if you will. But yeah, $1.2 trillion of spending. Again, you know, like I said, $7.266 trillion is what the government is asking for from you and I. And guess how much they get in taxes every year? Yeah, it's a lot less than that. It's a whole lot less. It's like $5.5 trillion they get. So $1.7 trillion deficit spending. You would think that with that much money, you could fund the government and do a whole lot of other stuff, considering it's $5.5 trillion. And we tax, a current tax rate right now is like, let's see, how did he say it? 19% of the total of the GDP goes back to Washington so they can spend it on BS. And guess what? They have to spend another 6% more than that. So, yeah, we've got a spending problem here in the United States, folks. And none of the politicians want to fix it. It is terrible. Let's get into the story. U.S. congressional leaders sell U.S. $1.2 trillion spending package to members before showdown deadline. Now, this story covers the spending package that was just passed, but this story came out like minutes before they actually passed it. So a lot of it talks about this in future tense, but we'll go ahead and throw it into past tense because it's already passed, like I said. Let's get into it, though. U.S. congressional leaders from both parties look to put a positive light on a $1.2 trillion spending package that lawmakers are working to approve before funding expires at midnight Friday for a host of key government agencies. The text of the legislation has not been released as of Wednesday afternoon, but lawmakers and aides were expecting an official unveiling later in the day or early Thursday, which they already unveiled it. The package, which is expected to pass, will wrap up Congress's work on spending bills for the year nearly 6 months after the fiscal year began. Now Congress is focused on the second, larger package, which includes about $886 billion for defense, which is about 3% increase from last year's levels. Why are we increasing the defense spending? You wonder. $886 billion. That's a lot of money, y'all. That's almost $1 trillion for defense spending. And you would think that is divvied up equally among the four branches of service that we have. But no, because the United States Marines budget is about $55 billion. You might be thinking, wow, that's a lot less than 886, or a quarter of whatever 886 is, which would be about what, $220 billion? Something like that. $222 billion would be divvied up equally over the 55. So I wonder where the rest of that is going. But that just kind of makes you also wonder, now that I think about it, you know, you got $55 billion to fund the entirety of the Marine Corps. And yet, they're wanting to send $60-something billion to fund a foreign war in Ukraine. More than what we pay our own Marine Corps. Wow, y'all. Are you still happy with funding Ukraine? Yeah, I don't think so. Let's keep going. Leaders worked to sell the package to members in a closed-door meeting with GOP lawmakers in the morning. Speaker Mike Johnson described a few policy changes that House Republicans were able to secure in the latest negotiations, which, yeah, I've read the story. Yeah, they're not really all that great, y'all. Those included a prohibition on funding for a United Nations relief program for Palestine refugees that extends through March 25th. Through March 2025, I'm sorry. He also noted the bill funds 8,000 additional detention beds for non-citizens. Why, Mike Johnson? Why? Why are we giving these people beds? Why are we giving these people hotel rooms? Why are we giving these people debit cards with thousands of dollars on it? Why are we not kicking these people out of the freaking country? With $1.7 trillion deficit spending, we cannot afford to do this. So get this, folks. They're having to print more money to pay for people that are not even supposed to be here. How do you feel about that? Awaiting their immigration proceedings or removal from the country. Yeah, well, as if they're going to remove these people. The Homeland Security piece was the most difficult to negotiate because the two parties have a wide chasm between them, Johnson said at the GOP leadership's weekly press conference. I think the final product is something that we're able to achieve a lot of key provisions in and wins, and it moved in a direction we want, even with our tiny, historically small majority. The House is expected to vote on the second package on Friday, giving lawmakers more than a day to examine the legislation. But in doing so, leadership is bypassing a House rule that calls for giving lawmakers 72 hours to review major legislation before having to vote on it. So get this, folks. Yeah, they do this a lot. This was one of my big concerns with those omnibus packages that they always love to throw on lawmakers right before the Christmas break, right? They trot out this wagon full of 6,000 pages of all this legislation for all this government funding and all this BS, right? And then they say, here you go, here's 72 hours. Read this and see if you agree with everything. Do you think they can make any amendments on that in that 72 hours? Do you think they can read everything and find all the pork and all the BS spending, like 8,000 beds for non-citizens or a statue for Nancy Pelosi? Do you think they have enough time to do that? No, they don't have enough time to do that. So now they're given even less time, suspending the rules, right? What is even the point of making these freaking rules if you're going to suspend the rules just to get a vote through, right? So basically what they're telling you is the people that you vote for, the congressmen that you vote for, it doesn't matter. You could put anybody up there and just say, yeah, vote yes or no. It doesn't matter. Because they don't have enough time to read these bills. They don't know what's in them. Democrats or somebody writing this crap up could just add something, kind of like Thomas Massie did with, if we don't get the government funded by April something, then there's a 1% cut all the way across the board. Which, by God, I wish that would have happened, but it's not going to happen anymore. Damn it. But, you know, I can sit here and gnash my teeth about this all day long. But you know what? When you hear it from the horse's mouth...
You noticing a common theme here? Almost everything we do around here is unpaid for. Hell, if you look at our annual tax revenues, which in 2022, by the way, were as high as they've ever been, those tax revenues only pay for mandatory spending. That is D.C. swamp speak for Social Security, Medicare, increasing amounts of veteran spending, all of the things that are on autopilot. All of that basically adds up to the revenues we bring into the Treasury, which I think is somewhere around $4 trillion. All of the other stuff, the Department of Defense, the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, HHS, this building, Congress, Senate, the White House, the FAA, all of that is borrowed money. Every penny of it is borrowed money. How can we look at our kids and grandkids straight in the face and say, we're not killing the country that was given to us? Because we are. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle always blame it on tax policy. I will absolutely, as I said in the budget committee, have any conversation about tax policy my friends on the other side of the aisle want to have. But what I will not allow my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do is blame deficits on tax policy. In 2022, 19.6% of the American GDP was sent back to Washington, D.C. The highest level in history. It ain't a revenue problem. It's not. We have always, since we've had tax policy, been somewhere around 17.5% of American GDP, that is everything we earn, comes back here to Washington. This year, last year, I think it was about 17.5%. It peaked, 2022 came back down. So you got all that money, and yet we can't fund all of the stuff we've promised or that we decide to do. I had friends, people back home, constituents say, why'd you vote no on a bill for ALS? Why'd you vote no on a bill for cancer? I'm a cancer survivor. I've had friends with ALS. I voted no because we don't have any money. I voted no because we're lying to the American people. Both sides of the aisle, but with all due respect, particularly my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, who just blame it on tax policy and then ignore spending like drunken sailors.
But continuing on, that is riling up some House Republicans, but following the rule would surely invite some lapse in federal funding, even if just for a day or so for several key federal agencies. Yeah. Oh no, we can't shut the government down to read what the hell we're paying the government. Yeah, we can't shut them down. Yeah. Go ahead. Once the bill passes the House, Senate Majority Chuck Schumer said he will put it on the Senate floor. Of course, and it's going to pass. And you know, if it passes the House and the Senate, Joe Biden, he's going to fucking trot himself in there, sign on the dotted line right here, and try to claim it as some sort of victory or something like that, I'm sure. Even with bipartisanship, it's going to be a tight squeeze to get this funding package before the weekend deadline, Schumer said. Democrats celebrated staving off the vast majority of policy mandates Republicans had sought to include in the spending bills, such as restricting access to the abortion pill, milfors or banning access to gender-affirming care. Why are we printing money, diluting the value of our dollar to give these people, quote-unquote, gender-affirming care, when that's not what it is? They're not affirming their gender. We all know that's what it is. That's what they call it, but it's the complete inverse of what it is. If you claim to be a woman and you're a man, we're going to say, oh, yeah, trans women are women. That's not affirming their gender. No. That's affirming their delusion. But we're not going to get into all that. Because, by God, do I have some opinions on that bullshit. We're exactly in the position that we knew we were going to end up, said Rep. Pete Aguilar. We knew that House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and the White House weren't going to tolerate any significant harmful cuts and crazy policy riders, right? So, it's harmful to not spend in a deficit. It is harmful. Hang on. That's why I call the Democrats absolutely insane, and they are. Some Republicans, too, because you are destroying the country by spending $1.7 trillion in a deficit. We have to print money, spending money we don't have, to pay for bullshit that we don't want. But yet, if we don't do that, it's harmful. That's how these people think. And like I said, that's why I think these people are insane, just outright insane. You cannot, I'm talking directly to you, you cannot go and spend more money than what you make. And don't give me no BS about a credit card, because you have to pay that back. I'm still talking to you. You can't go and just vote with your family to raise your credit limit, right? You can't do that. Why can the government do that? Why can politicians get in a room and say yes or no? Why do they have that right to just raise their debt ceiling? Huh? How the hell does that work? Why are we having to raise our debt ceiling? You mean we cannot find 435 fiscally responsible humans of 40 million Americans to serve in Congress? Can we not do that for some reason? I don't understand what the problem is with spending up to the amount of money you have. Like, seriously, I can't spend more money than what I make. Why does the government get to do this? And why do they think that it's harmful if they don't do that? How insane is this? Let me know down in the comments, because I can't seem to wrap my head around how these people can get on national TV or talk to, internet websites, news organizations, the mainstream narrative machine, and tell people it's harmful to not spend $1.7 trillion more money than what we make. It absolutely blows my freaking mind how these people can justify spending all this money on BS that the vast majority of Americans don't need or don't want in the first place. Why? But, that's not the rest of that story, but I'm going to cut it off there because I don't think I'm satisfied with this government at all. Republicans and Democrats both have totally screwed up this government. Their legacy, the current iteration, the 118th Congress, as a matter of fact, going back to like the 115th Congress, their legacy is going to be of destroying the country. Since 2018, our national debt has went from $21 trillion to $34 trillion. Yeah, Trump is part of that problem. Small part, 2 years part of that problem. But Trump is part of that problem. But how the hell has our national debt bloated that much in that short amount of time, folks? By insane people running an insane government, doing some insane acts and thinking that they're going to get different results. No, if you keep voting for deficit spending, you're going to get the same results. So I urge everybody that does not have Matt Gaetz, Chip Roy, Thomas Massie, Anna Paulina Luna, Byron Donalds, Marjorie Taylor Greene as their congressman to vote for somebody else. Please. Yeah, I didn't include my congressman in there. Yeah, I'm voting for a different congressman. I'm sorry. I think I've said all I can say on this subject, but I want you guys to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section, because it really blows my mind, and I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around how these people think that this is okay, and how people that don't pay attention to politics would react to learning that we spend in a deficit this much. Ask them, can you spend 5% more than what you make? No, you can't. That's their answer. No. So why should the government do that? Like I said, every single dollar that's printed in a deficit like that dilutes the value of the dollar. And they start yelling and screaming, oh, inflation's coming down, folks. Inflation's coming down. Yeah. Kiss my grits. That's all I'm going to say on that. But, y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. And try to have a good day and be positive. Peace.